we're going to start our workshop, and we have a great pleasure to have APX. Terri Ross and Izhak Musli are here, and they have a great hour ahead of us, to continue what we started this morning, and time to answer your questions, to share some of, we have some KOLs, time to share some of our experience with APX in our practices. So let me invite Terri Ross. Terri.
Can we sit here? We'll make this informal. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I know everybody's out and about having a good time. This has been an amazing couple of days, so thank you, Dr. Saltz, for hosting such a great event and for my first opportunity to be here. For those of you that were at my talk earlier, if I can't see you over there, I'm sorry. Okay, nobody's there. So I'm Terri Ross, the founder and co-CEO of APX Platform, along with my amazing co-CEO, Izhak Musli. A little bit again about APX and really the story of why we invented it. But before I do that again, welcome. Obviously, everybody knows Dr. Renato Saltz, so thank you so much for being on our panel. Dr. Barry DiBernardo with us today, two really key opinion leaders in the industry of plastic surgery. I think a lot of people go to them for advice on every level, both clinical and business. And so we're really proud to have them here today to be on this panel to answer any questions specifically about business and about what APX has been able to do for them as well. So we want this to be an open dialogue. If you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. But as you heard what we said earlier, there is such an opportunity for people to go to learn on the clinical aspect of things, and a very significant gap in the market from an educational perspective on the business side of things. As a consultant, and again, where Izhak came together, we were friends for about 10 years. He had a very successful analytics company with a very successful exit, and we really came together to bring our intellect, I guess, together, both from a data analytics perspective and a practice management perspective as a consultant, and come together to bring together a business intelligence platform that is really based upon training analytics in our community. And again, that's about really understanding not just why we do things, but how to do it, and that we're an opportunity where you guys have an opportunity to have on-demand learning so that you have consistency and standardization in the organization. So Izhak, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. And it's kind of like, I'm not going to say my side of the story, right? But it's the way that, how it did make sense to me. So I'm just going to share a little of the challenge that I had when I did that, the business intelligence dashboard. We worked with many KOLs and we had very happy customers, but it always come down to the same challenge. Once people realize their data, the next thing was the question, what do I do about it? And I wasn't a practice consultant. I wouldn't do them justice by telling them how to convert more patients or how to hire a new patient care coordinator or give them those kind of advices. And that's a challenge that always kept coming around. Every time that we show them the conversion rate, every time we show them how many leads they get or don't get or anything like that, it always came around to, again, the training, the consulting side of the business. And was one of the main key factor of when we decided to really sell that, right? Because we never intend to become consultants. And then years really passed, and when Terri showed me what she works on, it really made sense because that's really combined both of those worlds, right? The two sides of the data, what do I do about it, and then the training, how do you do it? So that is kind of like more of my perspective, right? How is it all comes together, and it really makes sense and help a lot of practices.
Okay, so now let's open it up for some questions. And this is for both of you, obviously to answer in your own regard. As being, two thought leaders in the industry, and I kind of said it earlier, there's no glass ceiling above education, but some people are very happy with mediocrity and where the practice is, and, again, busy doesn't mean being profitable. For Barry and Renato, both of you. So we understand that there is a gap today. What, from your perspective, where did you see the opportunity with APX as it related to some opportunities within your practice and or some of the weaknesses that were in the practice?
Okay, I'll start, and thank you both for doing this. I think the weaknesses, I'll start with the weaknesses in the practice. We've been in practice for 30 years. We thought we knew what we were doing. But and obviously we were doing something right to be in business for 30 years, but as you start looking at things, and I think we're at the point, I don't know, this morning we heard about exit strategies, and I don't know what 1, 2, 3, 4, which one I'm going to choose, but it's probably something with the younger plastic surgeons, and we have 2 in there, and I really wanted to get things organized, not only for me, but for them for the future, and we have all our numbers, but there was, when you look at it, then you see everything you don't know and everything that isn't organized, and it's just the abyss of this, and we had to start somewhere. And I look at everything everywhere at every meeting, and then last year I met Terri at a meeting, thought about it, didn't do anything, met her again at another meeting, and then realized that this was probably the key to what we needed.
Well, I think the problem starts with the slide you showed this morning, that only 10% of us know our data. I mean, I always knew it was low. I didn't know it was that low. And again, being next to Barry is really a master. He always knew his numbers. I visited his clinic 20 years ago, I think, up in New Jersey, and he knew how each room generated by the hour, and he said, Renato, you need to know that. I never know, and maybe I will know one day with APX.
You'll know.
But I think what's been fascinating to me is just reviewing the P&Ls and understanding your own numbers, and that's something most of us don't do. So when you came and you show me, and Izhak has been showing me through Atlas dashboards and things like that, you start to understand the business side of your practice, which is ultimately, what pay the bills. So I think that component, the making that available in a much easier format than reviewing P&Ls at the end of the month, 1. 2, the training component that you're offering. So I don't have to put the new front desk. When Ashley joined us, she had to learn everything that we do. And if she can do that on watching videos, get certified, boom, she gets the South Plastic Surgery standards even before I meet her. And then you have all the analytics and the dashboard. I mean, to me, that's the whole package that is the modern monthly P&L review, but now you cover everything. So to me, that's the beauty of your software or your platform.
I think we created this monster because if you look back to when we started, what did we have? We had a few employees. We did surgery only. And what was there to manage? But play the tape forward 30 years. Now we have divisions. We have surgical division, device division, injectable division, aesthetic division, med spa. You've got all these business groups, and I think we saw over the years the transformation of a medical practice to these are now all businesses and big businesses, and that's why we have to move up.
Thank you guys so much. Look, you guys are, again, very tenured. Many people here are, and we know we have this up-and-coming group of physicians that we want to be educated, right, to feel confident about running a business. But as industry leaders and having practices for 30-plus years, it's a mindset shift, right? I mean, this is a time commitment. It's, I wish I say, that I had fairy dust to sprinkle on your practices and make it great, and it's not like that. So knowing that we have your support, and again, we're so grateful for that, share, because look, we can hear objections. How long is it going to take? I don't have any time. Well, what is your time worth? What is the profitability of your practice worth? Tell me about the minds, when you were thinking about this and decided to be part of it. What was it for you that you can share that really was like, I have to do this or else I'm going to be stuck in this same space?
I'll start, because you're going to talk a lot. No, he's very knowledgeable.
I get short answers then.
With me, it started in 2008. In 2008, I realized, thank God I had a medical spa. because I was already traveling a lot for ASAP, so I was president-elect. The crisis came and really hit the surgical part of my practice, which was always the big component. And the med spa kept growing, so I realized that there's something there. Then with COVID was a total transformation. We lost a lot of staff. Some we miss, some we don't. We had the opportunity to hire people that are very, very qualified. The practice has really been rejuvenated. On top of that, we got the digital platform through Simplast, I mentioned this morning, which was huge. Initially a huge headache, but it really has really simplified our process. So I think when your platform came and we started looking at that, it was almost like was the how do you call it, the ice on the cake. It was like, okay, we're ready. We got the staff, we got a digital platform. Thank God to Facundo and Simplast was very, very helpful. And now you come in and say, okay, now I'm going to make all this work and be more productive. And your slogan, your motto, path to profitability, that resonates with us, because at the end of the day, we're business people. I'm not a great business like Barry is, but I get it. I understand. And so that to me was you're always going to have some pushback. I think I got a lot of pushback to go into the digital platform. So with APX, most of my staff already understood. You came and you gave your show and everybody loved you, and that was key. Everybody watched the videos. I watch every single video. I learn a lot. I thought I would have anything else to learn. I learned. So I think was sort of the final step, almost like, okay, now I'm ready for retirement. Done my thing.
If I'm the long answer, I have to go longer than that. I'll say it in one word: commitment. If you're going to do this, you need to commit. And we were talking at lunch, and it was, well, nobody in the office has time to do it. We're too busy. Well, when we started, you have to reorganize your chart of accounts for your accountant and your software. Well, all right, I'll go hire someone to do it. No, you have to do that yourself. I spent the whole holiday week working on that only, arguing with the accountant, saying we have to do it this way. And our staff, they had to watch all the videos. So commitment, the person at the top, because no one else really knows all the components of what's the expense that goes with that device. You're the one who knows everything. You've got to set the framework, and the staff, Renato just mentioned all the training. They have to do the training. So you're going to decide you want to do this. You're going to make a change in your practice, but just don't say you're going to do it. Make the commitment, because I think we all looked into this 20 years ago. We spent 2 days. Then we got busy again, and we didn't do it. But the APX platform isn't just a person coming and then they go away. It's online, and there's everything there for you, and you can keep working it, and you have people to help you. So I'll stick with my commitment word, and I was shorter than you.
Thank you both. I'm loving this. I hope you guys are too. We all know, Renato, you just said it, right? COVID caused where there was a high staff turnover, good or bad. And as we know, there's such a gap in training and consistency of what that is. And I'm going to back it up into what I said in my talk and as a consultant, and then even when I had the opportunity to be working for Medicis and Zeltique and having the medical spa in Beverly Hills, I didn't know what I didn't know either, but I knew I wasn't willing to settle for mediocrity. And when we think about the marketing dollars and the equipment we buy and the surgery cost and your staff and your payroll and your warranties and your lease and your bonuses, and I could go on and on and on, I said it, we have to inspect what we expect. And so when you're thinking about culture and leadership, how does this kind of, again, the training portion of what's within Apex, does it give you some solace? Does it give you some grace to know if I'm going to onboard somebody new, there's going to be continuity and consistency? Like, how does that help you feel about whether it's the team you have today and or anybody new you're going to bring on?
I'll go first. So that word is culture. So everyone has to buy in. You have to create that culture of learning and training and brand. You are your brand. It's a high level, and everyone has to perform at that level, and the tools for that are all here. So I'll stop there for now.
No, I agree. I really like the presentations this morning because they show how important it is for the surgeon to be involved. You know, it's culture, it's involvement, it's commitment. You know, I like to develop, at least with my team, they know they're as key to my success, to the practice success as I am. You know, I could be in the operating room doing this wonderful surgery, but if Ashley is not on the phone taking care of that patient with a problem, there goes the practice. You know, every single component. So I think the surgeon, and there are many in this room, you know, you gotta be involved. You cannot just, I hate this, I'm not gonna go back to the office, I wanna be in the operating room and hide from the problems because, and it's hard. It's hard. Some clinics, you just wanna, you know, sometimes I call clinics from hell because it's 40, 50 people and it takes 39 are doing great, one is doing poorly, and it destroys your day. You gotta go back, you gotta support your team, they need to understand they are an important part of it. And most of us don't tell them, you know. I was watching, I think it was Dr. K from Spain, you know, how important it is to positive reinforcement, all these things. So I think commitment, time, involvement, you know, make sure it's a team effort. Otherwise, it won't work. It could be another consultant that came and gone, and boom.
I thought of two more things. One is, one of your slides this morning resonated, and that is, you've got all these procedures, injectables, on my end, devices. I have probably too many devices, and we just added one this week. But when you add that one device, you need to know what does it cost to run it, what is it going to take to make it a profit center. Because if you run all these different things and 70% are not running a profit, you're in trouble. So this is giving us eyes to each line item, so we can now run the business intelligently. And now when you do get complex with a lot of these other components, you know your radar is there, you're seeing it all, and you're not running aground. The other thing I wanted to say, which I said earlier to you guys, is when you hear this from us and when you look at all of that, it's overwhelming. It's like, where do I start? Am I even gonna start? This is so much. And I just made it very simple because I was reading this Garden Railway magazine one day, and I always was thinking of this like Jack Fisher has with these trains, with the bridges and all this. And it's a daunting task to try to build that. But at the end of this article, it said, you know what? Just make a little circle, make a little oval, just start. And that's the message. Don't think about all that. The most important thing is the first move, just start.
I love that, thank you. And kind of to rebut that, it's like, if you don't, obviously we want everybody to be exposed and have our APX platform, but if you do nothing, right, if you do nothing, what does that mean? What does that mean for your practice, or your team, or your business?
Another thought, but it's all related. So we have a responsibility, follow me with this, to our businesses, but we also have a responsibility to our specialty as plastic surgeons. Now, I train a lot of people in a lot of things, and what I'm seeing in the field of aesthetics is there are other fields, the internal medicine, they're all doing aesthetics. And we, at least from the procedural standpoint, for years, plastic surgery has always been at the top. We've always been the leaders. And at this point in time, there are way many more people than we are out there doing aesthetics. And I think our move for the next decade is obviously do the best treatments and offer the best services you can. But the only way I believe we're going to stand out to the world, to the marketing, is that we run our businesses at a much higher level. And I think that's how we're going to survive, in addition to doing all the good work we've always done.
Well, I have stronger opinions about that. I think, and everybody knows, I think as a specialty, we're way, way behind times. I think we missed that window, we missed that bus in the 90s exactly because of that thinking. Oh, we're the top, we're the best, and every single other specialty, every single dentist learned quickly how to develop great aesthetic practices. Some rightly done, some poorly done, but still. And I think finally, plastic surgery as a specialty learned, now we have some multidisciplinary meetings. We are inviting some of the derms and some of the oculoplastic to our meetings. And that 10 years ago was totally unacceptable, and I think we lost a lot of time in this important space with industry, with our patients, with the other specialties, because we became very isolated. And Barry and I had many conversations over the years in trying to push. I mean, he's one of the most knowledgeable, on laser devices and everything. I pushed the med spa thing, trying, okay, guys, for the competition and to train our young colleagues. I'm very active in the University of Utah. The residents rotate with me every month. We have a senior resident and a chief resident, and that's pretty much their exposure to aesthetics, and it's appalling. Occasionally, not once, but more than once, I have a resident that the first tummy tuck on his 5th year is with me. He hasn't seen one, especially not coming from general surgery, which is the new system. I mean, it's not fair. So we're not training our own. We continue to compete with each other instead of working as a group, like the derms do and the other specialists do. And then we have the dentists and the nurse practitioners and everybody else competing with us. It's not a good picture for survival.
Well, on that topic too, we just came off of the American Medical Spa Show, AmSpa, at the end of January, and to that accord, but as it relates to two things I want to ask you guys. Even if somebody is a surgeon, you get out, you decide where you're going to do surgery, you know what surgeries you're going to do and want to do. If you choose to add on the non-surgical stuff, we see it every time. People run out, they go buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of lasers, they don't know what the hell they even are, what they do, they don't know how to charge, they don't even know who their client is, and they've just wasted all this money. And if we kind of go back to the data and the analytics, because that's the stuff that doesn't lie, and then I'll get into the people part of it, but if we don't know the profitability, if we don't know the time and the cost of goods, and then who's performing it, we're discounting, or we're running we're losing so much money, and we see it day in and day out, analyzing everybody's business, that it was becoming so disheartening that we wanted to provide and create these tools and resources. But as it relates to that, and let's talk about revenue per hour. I think it's a really important number that, honest to God, most people just don't know. And it's such an area of opportunity for growth. And so with you two, again, being these KOLs, having med spas, having busy surgical practices, what has it allowed you to almost uncover, right? Were you meeting the benchmarks? Were you not? And then you're like, oh my God, shit, I didn't even know, because I'm in the OR and I'm busy all day and I didn't know. But now I have an opportunity to make more money and coach my people.
So I like the word uncover, because until you dig into it, you don't know. So what I'm going to talk about is when we started with you and APEX, one of the first things we did is put in the monitoring systems, the systems that are using artificial intelligence to listen to the phone calls and categorize them, the monitoring systems that looked at the lead generation and where that all went. And when you first turn it on, and then you start looking at it, it's horrifying because here you thought you were doing well, 30 years of it, and it's like, that's our data, and I never believed you when I never believed in their we're going to increase your bottom line by 600%. And I'm like, really? But when you look at your data and you've got all these leads coming in, because the first problem is how do you get leads? But if you've been around for a while, then you've got to move them to become consults. And you said you need 70%, and ours was 8 to 12%. Well, if we fix that, there you get the 600. So monitor, look at the data, and follow the plan, because your profitability will really grow, and the monitoring opened my eyes.
I think what opened my eyes was your analysis of the practice, especially our master estheticians. We have 5, and traditionally it's always been one that every year she's sort of the champion. And then we sat on a Saturday morning in my house, and Terri showed me this number and said, actually, your number 1 is not your number 1, it's this one. And I said, how come? And she showed me how she utilized the time in picking, instead of a brow axe, she's doing much more
higher producing things,
expensive treatments, and I'm looking at that, and that was an eye-opener for me, because I thought, you're busy, you're generating money, but when you analyze by room, by time, and everything, so I learned a lot from that simple example, and then you start looking at everything like that, the time for the injectables, the time for Botox, the time for the consultation, conversions, and like Barry and I, Mike is a young, very active, very bright plastic surgeon here in Utah, just opening his new practice. His priorities are different than ours. We've been doing this for a long time. Patients keep coming. If you don't do anything, you're still going to be busy. You'll be okay in the OR. So when you start analyzing those little details, it's fascinating to me how much we have screwed up all these years.
And I think what we're going to find is that's going to be the norm, because would you fly a plane with no radar? You just don't do it.
So let's talk about sales for a minute. Obviously, that's my, passion, what I've studied my whole career, and then parlaying that into a medical practice. And I think it's interesting because the philosophy I always hear, and again, I'd love your opinions, is, well, we don't sell. We're not salespeople. But at the end of the day, we are, right? You're selling your experience, your credentials, results, the outcome, why people want to come back. We're selling everything every day. And when we think about the team, we're no good, none of us are, if we have a business, without the people that work for us. And I think when we think about, again, those people, I'll just use the front desk, but I'll call them patient concierge, whatever we want to title them, and then the people in the room doing the consultation. There is the reason I kind of put that layer model, if there's nothing else, there is a purpose to why some of the top salespeople in the country make the most money, because we know how to sell on value, right? We're not selling anything on price, and we know how to communicate, because none of this is about us at all. It's about Ashley coming in the door. It's about what her needs are. And so when we think about how has it maybe changed your mental thoughts, if anything, about who you want to hire now and what you expect of them?
No, this is perfect. And since COVID, traditionally front desk teams were medical people. They work on Barry's office, and they work on the doctor's office, and oh great, now you're going to work for us. We changed that completely. Now I look for sales, people experienced in sales. Ashley is a great example. Tracy Lynn was in sales in Tahoe and moved to Park City. We were lucky to have her. Our marketing director, Mackenzie, who's been sitting here, she's a just recent graduate from school, but won a national award, #1 in sales in the country as a college student. I said, I want you, young, no bad habits, and knows how to sell. So
To learn. She wants to, eager to learn.
so that's a brilliant concept, Terri.
And their qualifications, and I'm going to tie that into basing the answers from the analysis. So going back to these softwares we're analyzing, the one showed us why were we only 10%, not 70%? Well, 40% of the calls coming in spoke Spanish. And all right, well, everyone we've hired now is bilingual. We had to. And the other problem, I mean, this was a big problem, this analysis. The other problem was there's leads coming in by emails, by calls, by texts, by chats. And I walk through the office and I'm going room to room and everyone's on a phone or they're with a patient and I'm like, there's still more calls coming in. So that software said 44% of the calls are just going off to nowhere. So right now, while we're here, they're trying to hire whatever we're going to call them, internet salespeople, to be handling all those other calls. So by tackling one problem at a time, we're going to move that bar up to get to your 70% number. And I'm not giving away my whole talk later, but my younger plastic surgeon analyzed this, and I'll show you that later.
Yeah, so it's, I think that there is something that we are mislooked, because in APX we're really providing 3 different elements, right? One of them is the training, which we discussed recently a lot, and the analytics part also. The last part, and it's really what we do right now, and I think that it's almost overlooked, it's the community. It's the ability to share practices, share it together from their own experience, their own challenges. Really what we do right now, right? Just like you have this challenge with the phones and low conversion and how did you overcome it, many other practices have exactly the same. And so, not necessarily phrase it inside the question, but I would love more practices, or how do you feel about practices sharing more of their own challenges? Because as consulting and from the data, there is just as much that we can cover, and that's really why we developed that community part, so practices can come together and share among themselves other challenges to learn from each other.
Everything you're saying has a real live example. I hate to beat up this analysis, but 1/3 of them we found my people were answering on the weekend at night, but when they were sending the outbound emails through whatever it was, those were going to spam in Gmail. Anyone who had a Gmail account was going to spam. And until we analyzed, we didn't even know our answers were not getting to the people. And they figured, oh, this practice doesn't care. They don't answer us. So we uncovered that problem and fixed that one. So every one of these has an example.
How is that community call? I know you have a weekly thing. How many people attend to that? Because I don't think we are involved in that.
Well, let me preface to you guys that don't know, one of the things as a consultant, we care just about helping people, right? None of this is for the money. This is really to make sure people don't waste time and money and just do it right, because we've seen so many bad mistakes, and it's sad. What they're talking about is our community is where we provide, so it's not just a platform you get and we're like, peace out, right? On Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have group coaching calls. And that can be specific to your practice. It can be about APEX. It can be about, I'm just stuck and I don't know how to compensate. To Isaac's point, every practice fundamentally has the same challenges, which is, again, where the resources and the training within APEX fits every aesthetic practice that's cash-based right now. We can move into different verticals. But we want to be there to support your organization, your company, and then support your team. So, I always say for anything, whether you're dating, your kids, you have to show up. People that have shown up, listen, have grown multi-millions of dollars. That is no mistake. That's not me pretending, right? They have grown multi-millions of dollars. So, Renato, to your question, we have about 150 plus users on the APEX platform. Over, 1,200 users. And we hold one masterclass a month, so there's also additional resources. We're working with industry on having additional resources within the platform. So there are about, it depends. People, we move the calls down to 1, then they wanted the 2 back. There's probably about 20 people consistently every time. And then we got some diehards that they don't miss a beat. But they have, just if you look at their numbers, it's exponential.
So before we run out of time, unless you were heading there, I'm going to pick on Izhak, and he knows what my favorite word in the dictionary is dashboard. They all know it. So one of the reasons that I got involved in this also is I need to see all my data, and your data is all over the place. It's in QuickBooks, it's in the payroll company, it's in the practice management software. We don't have time to go into all these different softwares. So a dashboard, you can have it on your phone, refreshes every 15 minutes. You can see all of that and know where you're heading. So I would like you to introduce dashboard.
Yeah, so it's, I'm laughing because it's something that I've been asked since really we sold Atlas. Every time I see somebody who used to use Atlas, he's like, oh my God, I missed the dashboard. Even today I heard it again.
Atlas worked. It worked for us before 2 months, a month. I saw it and then it went away. That was how many years ago? Here you go. You can't have it.
Yeah, but it was like I mentioned before. Now that there is really the second part of it, where the training, I have where to send them once they see the data, and they now know where to go to do something about it. We just released this week the first version of this dashboard that's coming together, and there will be integrations, and that's really to your point. It's really to save that time, so you don't need to go through reports, you don't need to go through exercise. The data is right there and then. And based really on the talk earlier today, once you know the areas where you want to focus, that's how you design your dashboard. That's the numbers that you look. Those are the trends that you focus on and you keep monitor.
The beauty, and we had the dashboard from day one for many different reasons, and that was amazing because all the providers had the dashboard, retail was on the dashboard, the front desk team got a percentage or got a bonus based on retail, so they knew when that curve hit a certain number, boom, they all would get a bonus. So the whole practice was watching this thing, and it was fascinating. So when you told me APX one day would have a dashboard, I said, okay, I wanna be part of this.
Yeah, well, this day you're gonna come at the end of this month. So at the end of this month, you're gonna have a
My
dashboard.
question, one of my favorite words is international, because every time I present business talks in outside the United States, it's, if we complain we don't have good products, out there is very, very, it's a lot more complex. Is the company planning to go international? What are your plans?
So I'm actually super happy you asked that, because I forgot to mention that on the earlier call. We just released also, actually already live in production, subtitles for Spanish and Portuguese. We are not HIPAA compliant because we don't take the patient information. We just stay on the operational and the financial data. International is definitely, we're available for the international market. Anybody that want to use can use it. We keep enhancing more the international compatibility, so it's going to support the different currency symbols and stuff like that. But numbers is numbers, and the training is training, and the sales techniques are the sales technique, and the financials are financials. Just like I showed today, at the end it's revenue minus your expenses. This is the profit. And once you know the drivers and you know how together, the models are always the same. So it's available for international, and that was actually one of the considerations from the first day with the dashboard was really want to impact not just the US market that is already performing better than any other country in the world, but then also support all those other countries to really bring it to the same level.
Do you want to open for questions? We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. I hope you found this very productive, but we would love to take any questions from you guys. Don't be shy.
Dr. Lyle.
Yes, I wanted to just ask, and Renato's in solo practice. I believe Dr. DiBernardo has associates or partners. But just the challenges that you face trying to sell this to group practices, or I'm in practice with another physician who I'm sure would have a lot of pushback, and there's a dynamic between solo practitioners and group practitioners in terms of being on board with these types of things.
So what's the question?
The question, I guess, is really maybe for Terri, is just how have you experienced that when, if you're selling to a solo practitioner, it's just he's making all the decisions. When you're talking to a group practice or partnership, trying to get them to onboard, people having different philosophies about things.
Sure. And I'm sorry, what was your name?
Glenn Lyle.
Hi, Glenn. Nice
Hi.
to meet you. Are you guys 50-50 partners? What is,
Yeah.
well, you don't even have to share it with me. So you are.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that this person would have the same equal vested interest in the success of your business, or they should, or maybe they shouldn't work there. I don't know. It's a different conversation. No, we've sold to groups where there's several other, 4 or 5 physicians. I think it obviously is a consensus, and one of the things we always talk about is the value of meetings. I guess the best way that I can answer is that you guys have a shared philosophy of the success of the team and the company and the growth and the profitability and efficiencies. And if you do that, everybody wins. If there's a different dynamic, then...
Right.
But from an affordability, which we don't even need to get into, but part of the strategy that Izhak and I have chosen to do is that we are in this to impact positive, make positive impacts on practices. This isn't about making money, but it's so affordable.
I can answer that a little bit because there's 3 of us. They're not owners, but they may be. And one's out 9 years and one's out 6 months. But from what I've seen, and you've talked to them, I don't think it matters if they're owners or not, because they know that if this all works right, whatever way you get paid, you're going to get more.
Yeah.
Because it's all going to work well. So it doesn't matter if you're 6 months, you're 9 years, you're a partner, not, you're going to do better. And that's why I think they're interested.
Well, Karen had made a comment about the challenges of hiring associates, and you need a degree in, I forgot what you said, industrial psychology or something. And there's a lot of challenges just working with partners and associates. So I just was curious about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Adam, can you come in? Hi, Adam.
She can't see you.
I was like, hi, Adam.
Come on.
I'm going to come over here.
Yeah, that's great.
So my question's for you, Terri. And obviously what we do is we work to deliver leads to the front door, whether that's inbox or phones and so forth, chats. And we love the APX platform. I think it's amazing. And I wanted to see if you could elaborate on what you've seen of how it's helped with helping get those leads. You talked about it a lot this morning and about the percentages being too low on converting leads, which is obviously something we have a vested interest in. I'm curious if you could elaborate on what you've seen with practices that are using it and how that's improving the actual conversion rate from a new patient inquiry to actual consultations and surgeries and so forth.
No, thank you so
Before
much.
you answer, he's the problem. He's the problem from influx, why we got so many leads coming, we can't answer them all.
The good problem
That's a
that
good
everyone has. Now we have to get that 24% up to 70. No, well, listen, I've known Adam and Max, and I've worked with their firm for, 10 years, I think, when I had my medical spa in Beverly Hills. And what I'd like to say is that it's not one versus the other. Again, marketing and leads and PPC, it's phenomenal, but it is all a moot point if all that's coming in and you just hired Susie Q and she's pretty and can answer the phone. And people have said that to me. I just pay them $15 an hour and they just book an appointment. And I'm like, and you will fail. Yeah. Because it's back to the original sales training course that I wrote in 2019, and I launched it at the first AMSPA show. And it's a book. It's like going to college. It's taking, Max, the efforts that you guys do and do it so well, and it's the money from these practices that you're investing, and it's saying, you know what, Ashley, I want you to go watch the sales training curriculum. Module 1 and 2 is focused on these specific things with exactly what to do. And then when you're stuck, because it's sales, and if you've never studied sales, I don't expect you to know, but it's the ability, again, to qualify and ask questions and overcome objections. We all know price is the biggest thing. I don't care if it's a web lead, right? Or if they're coming in from a chat or a social media. A lot of times it's, well, how much does it cost? Oh, it's, 20 grand, whatever it is. Click buy. I use this analogy when I teach a lot. Somebody called the practice and said, hey, do you have Ulthera? The practice didn't have Ulthera, but they had 4 other skin tightening things. So it's not about the thing. It's about saying, I'm sorry, Ashley, oh, you were calling about skin tightening. So to answer your question, I know it was a long version of it, but it's taking taking the initiatives and the web leads coming in and really saying, expecting, really putting your team through some hardcore training and then analyzing the results of the phone calls, what they say, their conversions. If they're not converting, why? Was it a looky-loo? Did Ashley just suck on the call? We got to dig deep. But we can overcome that with the right training.
He's reminding me about another issue we talked about before, and that's you want to do better, you need more, and the first call, if we didn't have all this, the first call would go to you and say, turn up the Google ads and what, and now you did that, but everything else is broken.
Right.
It's like your engine's broken in your car, but you're putting more gas in. You can fill the tank. It's not going to go anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi.
Hey, Mike, Marion. So you mentioned how we feel as surgeons kind of overwhelmed. We got a lot of these, how do we put time into this? I appreciate that. For the surgeons, I guess, how has bringing Apex on, how is your life different? Obviously, you're looking at a dashboard maybe a few times a day. Are you adding an extra meeting in a week? Is it an extra staff meeting a month? How is your life different as you've incorporated this?
I think we implement it in different ways, and pretty much based on our personalities. I think we're both OCDs, but I think Barry's more analytic than I am. I'm more of a work with a team. I set deadlines. Terri was in our practice late December or early December, and then I left town, and there are the holidays. So I said, by the end of January, everybody has to watch the videos. I watch it. I made my managers watch. Every single one of our 20-plus staff had to watch the videos, and we set that deadline. And then we have staff meetings. I meet with the estheticians weekly. I meet with my front desk monthly. I'm very involved with that. And I think just now we're going through some of the weakness and the positives that Terri and Izhak identified in the practice. So it's going slow, Mike. It's not going to be overnight. It's a cultural thing. It's even for me. I'm trying to grasp all these concepts, issues problems that she identified in the retail area. I mean, my practice. You have retail, you have surgery, you have med spas, you have 2 locations. It's a little chaotic at times, but so it's going a lot slower than what's happening to Barry's practice. So I think you have to set up your own time. Burnout. Chris's lecture this morning, it was a great one, and that's why I sort of added her to the program this morning, because it's overwhelming. The surgical practice has been booming since they shut us down in March 2020. And I don't, I'm a solo practice with 7 other providers, so it's really busy.
So we're not done, but I think the answer to your question is all of this, I'll call it chaos, that gave me a headache all the time. I can see when it will all be in place. I think I will have peace of mind every day because I'll see where it all is. We will have tackled the major problems. So I think it'll still be busy and a lot to do, but I think it'll be less pressure on me because you don't know what you don't know, and when you do know, I think it's just...
Is that like a rap? I think that's a rap song. You don't know what you don't know.
Well, we can play it. Till you know.
But I do think, Mike,
with the dash, the training component. To me, the two big, the community thing, I don't even know if somebody from my office is part of it. Are they? Okay, they are. Great. To me, the plus here is the training component with our, like I'm sure you see a lot of revolving door at your front desk, and the training component, the certification component, and the analytics are the highlights of this platform. Mackenzie.
Terry, you mentioned this morning maybe using a CRM to track your leads and as well as see their progress in their relationship with our practice. Do you really recommend like using a specific CRM, or would you maybe just immediately put client information into the EHR we already use? Should we use two platforms, or what do you recommend for that to track leads?
Again, many ways to skin the cat, and I know that Influx, all right, most website companies, I'll say, Advice Media, I think most website, right, have some version of tracking, right? They know who called, when they called, what time they called, and you can go listen to it. The problem that I feel most practices face is nobody listens. So I don't think that you need a separate, I think the more things just make it too chaotic. But again, that's a practice-specific request.
I want to help to address that too, because I have a little bit of insight to the software that you use. So part of Simplast also coming medical PRM, which is the lead management, that is integrated. So it's not two steps. Once the lead is ready to book the appointment, you can just sync it into Simplast and it will be populated with all the information. So I will highly suggest to do that. It's connected to your website. You can get from there the leads with all the records. It's not integrated at the moment, as far as I know, with the phone system, but it's the right way to do it.
Oh my God, we're out of time. Okay, any last burning desires? Okay, well, I would like to thank Dr. Saltz and Dr. DiBernardo. Thank you so much. Izhak, for being on this panel. Thank all of you for coming. So appreciative.